If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Dr. King hits the nail on the head. You just keep progressing. Whether it's slow or fast, 10 to 15 minutes a day, that is all we ask. Welcome to the Labor Day holiday weekend here in the United States. Markets will not be open on Monday. So, of course, we've marked this training as the Tuesday training. It is the beginning of week shortened trading week. How do we see the markets wrapping up for the end of the week? S&P down, NASDAQ 100 up, bonds down, gold up, weekly vertical crossover on gold, Bitcoin flat. Let's jump into these charts. What do we see happening first on the S&P 500? Well, we see we have an up week, but not enough energy to actually have a crossover. 3.69 versus 3.7 on the red signal line. This has been sloppy. This has been a lesson in when a chart is not working, why not to use it. So there are thousands of stocks and ETFs. There are hundreds and hundreds of charts that work wonderfully well. And we'll talk about MO here in a little bit. What do we see going on? We see the derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum, price percent oscillator not crossing over. What do we see on the 2-day? We see it again heading up a little bit, really more flat than anything else. The high on the previous 2-day, 453.11. You notice we always check these highs. The high 454.05. So it did reach a little bit of a higher high, moving up that 2-day trend line. Did go green on this latest 2-day candle, finally, after 10 days of up movement. What do we see on the half day? Well, we see it actually rotating over, going down on Friday. Even though, again, it wasn't much of a down day, but that oscillation just rotated it over. So we're just waiting for the S&P to figure itself out. And when it does and gives us a clear signal up or down, we'll be ready to go, my friends. What about the Qs? Nice to see the Qs up 0.31%. Why is that? Well, because we had a 2-day recross earlier in the week. We see on the weekly chart the price percent oscillator slowly pulling away from the red signal line and the derivative oscillator gaining some momentum. That's good to see this week. Look at the 2-day. Remember the 2-day recross we had going up back on Monday? Now again, I'm using Heikin-Ashi candlesticks, so it doesn't give me an accurate reading. Somewhere around the 376 mark or so. What high did we reach during the week? 382? Somewhere around there, 382 something. So again, that's okay. Derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum, price percent oscillator heading up 2-day. Same kind of thing. We had this downward oscillation for a day and a half as things were weakening and then trying to pick it back up. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, on the half day, it did weaken and crossed over going down. What does that mean? It just means we pay attention to what the charts tell us. Our half-day chart is our weakest chart. It's the one that we don't make decisions off of, except in very, very limited circumstances. Okay, that's where we are on stocks. 2-day recross, still going nicely on the Qs. What about 20-year bonds? Down for the day. 0.91%. Price percent oscillator flat positive, derivative oscillator positive, losing upward momentum. Red spinning, solid red spinning top for the weekend decision. Tending downs, what that means on the Heikin-Ashi candlesticks. What do we see on the 2-day chart? Just trying to redraw that 2-day trend line a little bit. Price percent oscillator heading down, derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. And again, things just continuing to trunnel down, but not enough downward energy to give us a rotator over on a weekly vertical crossover. Maybe it'll happen in the next week or two. We shall see. What about the half day? That's where we see that down movement in the afternoon, not quite as much. I'm sorry, in the morning, not quite as much down movement. In the afternoon, price percent oscillator on the half-day chart heading down along with the derivative oscillator. That's where we are on bonds. Now let's get to gold. That weekly vertical crossover wasn't a super strong weekly vertical crossover, but it was a pretty one, wasn't it? What do we see happening? We see going green. And when I say super strong, the price percent oscillator, very nice. Derivative oscillator, not super green, but green nonetheless. Higher high for the week, nice green up candle, about the size of the prior weeks. We don't like to see that candle getting a lot smaller as it starts to move up. So looking good so far on gold. We've been waiting for this, haven't we? That last weekly vertical crossover sure treated us wonderfully well in gold. And the one prior to that, well, the two prior to that, treated us very well in gold. We hope that this one will do the same. Hope you considered, and if you ruled it out for a good reason in your own head, why you did not otherwise get into a practice trade going up on gold. Now, you may have had good reasons. If you didn't, and this doesn't work, I'd love to know what your good reason was. Of course, the 2-day continues to move up nicely, right up that trend line. Update the trend line a little bit there. Derivative oscillator heading up, price percent oscillator heading up, half day. What do we see there? Popping up in the morning, not quite as much, rolling back just a tiny fraction in the afternoon. Things are looking great, friends. Good week. I so enjoyed the Patreon training on Wednesday. It was just a really good day. Both the market review I felt that day and the Patreon was wonderful. Opened up 20 additional slots, many of which have filled up on that lowest tier of support for Patreon. If you want to get those 20 weekly vertical crossovers every week, you want to participate in the live question and answer monthly session where we help you review your questions, the stocks and ETFs you're interested in backtracking for practice trading. Plus, you get all the special trainings, the How to Chart Bitcoin training. The big one, of course, is what? That is the 3-part series, Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way. We got that for you. Okay, check out the Patreon membership. Lastly, Bitcoin. Bitcoin just flat for the day. What do we see? Well, as we look at Bitcoin, of course, we had that Bitcoin weekly vertical crossover back on Friday the 13th. It has served us well. Things slowing a little bit. You see what I'm talking about, how the candles are getting smaller. We pay attention to that because that can be a little bit concerning. Now, as far as the high during the course of the week, 49,695. The prior week, 49,807. So we did hit a higher high, which is good to see. Derivative oscillator heading up. Price percent oscillator heading up. Check out the 2-day. It was getting weak on us. Flat, but it sort of moved up a little bit. We talked about digesting those gains and taking off again. Let's see what we see over the course of this next week with Bitcoin. And of course, what we just see Bitcoin doing is nothing on Friday. So Bitcoin will head up. It'll digest those gains and pair off a little bit and then head up again. So we'll see how this weekly vertical crossover from the 13th of August continues to develop. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters. Have a great Labor Day weekend for everyone in the States, all of our friends around the world. Enjoy yourselves too. Take Monday off. God bless.